before we started the show.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Pulse with Willie and Al. How's it going today, bro?
Hey man, can't complain right now. Can't complain. We're doing all right. We are what 8 days away from Christmas,
We
which is
are.
bananas. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh
yeah,
my God, it really is 8 days. That's insane, dude.
yeah,
Oh
yeah. When
man.
we record next week's episode, it'll be Christmas Eve.
Yeah, so this is the crazy thing about that is like when you spend time outside of the country, you just don't have the same feelings and vibes around those holidays. So it's kind of a tough thing too, but
Yeah,
then someone reminds you of like, oh, hey, Christmas is coming up, and you're like, oh, shit, like it
it
is,
is.
you know?
It was cool when I last summer when I went to go visit you in Turkey. I went to Amsterdam after, and I was in Amsterdam. I was in Amsterdam for the 4th of July,
Yeah.
and it was just a weird concept to be like, oh, like to everybody else in the world, this is just a normal day for them.
Yeah. That where
For
they could
me, I
care
was like,
less. Yeah.
yeah, and for me, I'm like, man, no fireworks, huh?
Yeah.
And like, it's like I would run into like a few, like I knew I ran into a few Americans, and we all kind of looked at each other and gave the hey, I
Yeah.
see you.
Yeah.
We know what day it is. I see you.
Dude, I'm gonna say a thing. I've been through many 4th of July celebrations, not only in Boston, but where I grew up in Vermont. Also, when I was
Yeah,
out in LA, like seeing the 4th of July, the fireworks, in Santa Monica, like crazy celebrations, right?
yeah.
None of those have ever come close to the 100-year celebration that I saw here in Turkey. They
Oh, I bet.
had they had F-16 jets flying like 1,000 feet above people's heads.
That's incredible.
Insane. The fireworks, the jets fly like it was insane, dude. Nothing I'd ever seen like that before. It was unbelievable the amount of pride for just 100-year celebration for a company, for a country. Insane. All
Right.
right.
Oh
So,
man.
but I'll catch a lot of flack. We'll lose some listeners, but it's all right. So, it's
Nah, fuck them. That's
yeah.
okay.
So, listen, let's today it's kind of a crazy day. We're back with episode 65 today. And this is going to be our check out this guy episode.
Yeah.
Because well, we'll get into that a little bit later, but it's going to be a good episode today. So, we have a wild week in the NFL. Some very interesting Major League Baseball transactions as well.
Yeah.
But let's dig in and break down all the juicy stuff for you guys. So, Major League Baseball first. I think the biggest story, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the biggest story I feel like in baseball, but besides the Soto deal, has to be Fried going to the Yankees as of right now.
Yeah.
I mean, and I got to ask you because I know you had talked that he was possibly linked to the Red Sox, and you were concerned about that maybe because of some injuries and stuff like that. But are you disappointed about this? How are you feeling? What are the thoughts? What?
Um, I know that you love Atlanta, and so like, and you kind of get to watch this team. You understand this team a little more than I do, but I am worried about giving 8 years to a guy who, frankly, can't always stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And when he is healthy, he's lights out when he's healthy, but like he just can't always stay healthy. And an 8 year contract, like he's gonna be 38 at the end of that contract. Like
Yeah,
that is, boy, that
he looks 20 if you look
yeah,
at him, right? Like he looks so
yeah.
young. Uh,
But like to me, I'm the Yankees clearly had to do something, and this bolsters their lineup, and it like and to be honest with you too, it works out because like the next one we'll talk about is the Yankees getting rid of Nestor Cortez um for Milwaukee's closer, who kind of was up and down this year, but that's here. We'll get to that. Yeah, the Yankees clearly had to do something. They were hurting after not getting Soto. Um, yeah, And I think they needed pitching anyway. And I think if Fried can stay healthy, this is a great signing for them.
Yeah.
It gives them a lefty. It bolsters that starting rotation, and they kind of now have a rotation that you're like on paper looks good, which concerns me. Because I don't think that was necessarily their strong suit going into the playoffs this postseason. Like it was their
No.
bullpen that was kind of carrying them.
Well, now it's going to be a little bit of a different facet. You know, they lose Soto in free agency, but now they add Fried, which anytime you can add a good, competent lefty to a rotation, it's like kind
Yeah,
of like a wild card for many teams where it's like, oh, they got that. Oh, okay. But you're right. Listen, he's been banged up. He's been injured a little bit the last couple years. But you're right. When he's been on, he's dangerous, man. He
yeah,
and I think the Braves will miss him, but I don't think I kind of knew from the rumblings early in the season that they weren't going to re-sign him. They kind of knew this was like, okay,
yeah,
we're not bringing him back this year. Now, if he goes out and has a season like Sale has, they're going to re-sign him. But then, well, or at least make a shot at it. But I still
yeah.
think even if he did, they're not. I still think he would have been gone even if he had a ridiculous season. I really do.
Yeah, that's the thing with Atlanta is like they are very small. Like they will pay guys, but like there hasn't been an Atlanta deal for a while where I was like, boy, it seems like they pay too much for that guy. And like, yeah, like if anything, they're willing to get rid of a guy a year early. Like you kind of saw that with Freddie Freeman, where they were like, you know what? Which is also, first of all, is bullshit. That man should have retired as an Atlanta Brave. Should have,
Yeah.
but he won't. But like they were like, you know what? We're gonna and Freddie still has like good years in him, but like they didn't think he was worth the money. And they moved on from it and they signed Matt Olson, who was younger and as good of a hitter. And yeah, that is what that is.
Yeah,
And that's kind of Atlanta's thing.
Matt Olson didn't have a great year. He picked it up in the second half. First half was pretty
Well, when
brutal,
you
but
smash almost 60 homers the year before, like you're gonna have a down year.
yeah, big
Like you just
expectations.
are.
But you look at
Yeah.
what Freddie Freeman was able to do in the World Series this year, and I mean it speaks for itself, right? Like it just I don't know, it almost made it feel like it hurt a little bit less that the
Yeah.
Braves weren't there because you were like, all right, well, Freddie was there. So technically it's like kind of like Atlanta 2.0. You know,
Right.
it's not really, but you know, it was a nice thing. So, but you were
Yeah.
right, man. So Freed ends up there, and also you were right as well. They move on from Nestor Cortez. Devin Williams comes in. Uh,
Yeah, which really works because Clay Holmes also signed with the Mets.
mm,
And I don't know if they're going to be able to bring back Luke Weaver because like Luke Weaver was a stud second half of the year in the playoffs for them. So yeah, so this kind of shores up their bullpen. At least they have a closer,
yeah,
which is huge. And for Milwaukee, like it just means them doing more Milwaukee things where they're just hoarding prospects at this point and will somehow win 95 games again with guys you've never heard of. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
wild.
So
It really is.
yeah, and
Um,
it's not like the Yankees gave up. Like the Yankees gave up some pretty decent prospects for Devin Williams. So like,
well, let me ask you something because like it's interesting when they're trading prospects because a lot of times people don't know exactly how good these guys are, but some of
sure,
them are good and
yeah,
do pan out, and we find out about that later. Like, oh yeah, by the way, like 5 years down the line, like oh yeah, this was one of the guys that was part of the Devin Williams deal, right? And he comes up and he's a stud, right? But
yeah.
how much do you think these two moves move the needle for them?
I think that I think this really shores up pitching wise. I think that like I feel pretty good about them. I, I think there's still stuff that needs to be done with their lineup
Hmm.
because like Stanton's getting older and like Stanton is good like in the playoffs, but like Stanton, you can set your clock to that Stanton will have a stint on the IL. You can set your clock to it. That is something that happens. It's kind of what he does. He's getting older. And like you kind of need somebody to protect Judge in that lineup. And that's what like made Judge so good last year was that you sometimes had to pitch to Judge or Soto. Like you couldn't walk both of them, but you could walk one of them. And like that really worked out in that lineup. And now if it's just Judge and Stanton, like just walk Judge. Like you
Yeah.
take your chances with Stanton. Like
Yeah.
and Stanton murdered everyone in the playoffs.
Yeah, he did.
He still is a good hitter, but like he's getting older and like injuries are kind of a thing for him now. Like
Yeah.
so
Well, moving on, right? We got the Cubs. They trade for Kyle Tucker from the Astros. And I just like I was reading about this and it seems like a good move, but to me, I don't know. I see certain teams, and I see this happen in the NFL often, where a team will make a trade for a guy, and I'm like, does this really make them that much better? Like, this was the best move they could have made? Or is this really the only guy they could have gotten? Or did they have their sights set on this guy? So I'm just curious, like, your thoughts on that piece.
this feels like Houston. I think you'll know more once they figure out like where Bregman goes because Bregman's their big free agent that they have to resign.
Yep.
And this to me smells like Houston is, I think, going to tear it down and rebuild a little bit.
Okay.
Like I think they got some depth with the guys they got back.
Mm-hmm.
They still have a good lineup. They have Jordan Alvarez, they have Diaz, Josh Hader, Framber Valdez. Like they have good pitching. They still have Verlander. Like they still have a good team. But Tucker, like the thing with Tucker is not everything he does shows up on in a box score. Like he just is a guy that like always is in the right place, right time. Like guy that kind of like dictates where the outfield stands.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's really good at getting those guys in a position. Like he's a really good pickup for the Cubs.
Okay.
Like I don't think he's gonna set the world on fire, but like for the Cubs, like that's a solid player.
Okay.
So
all right. Yeah, like I said, I just was kind of curious your thoughts on it and like where you were landing on that. So,
yeah,
yeah.
we're gonna talk about what we're gonna talk about next. God damn it. God damn
it. Well, that's why I put interesting to you because the Red Sox, they trade for Garrett Crochet, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Red Sox doing Red Sox things or Red Sox doing new things? What are your thoughts?
No, it's
on
Red
this?
Sox doing Red Sox things because like
okay.
here's the fucking thing. Sorry, I have had time to like really stew about this. And here's the thing. We finally got to a point where we have like a really good farm system and we're just fucking trading it for a guy that went 6-12 with an ERA a shade under 4.
I mean, it's
God damn it.
Yeah,
God damn it. And a guy that's already had Tommy John surgery. He was 23 and has already had Tommy John surgery.
Yeah, man.
You know what his lowest ERA is in a season for his career? 3.64. That's yeah. Yeah. God fucking damn it. Sorry. I'm sorry. No, that's not true. Sorry. 2.82. There was a season, but he went 1-3 and then immediately got hurt.
Oh, okay.
Because Chicago couldn't give him run support. Yeah. So, yeah, 6-12. Yeah, great. I love this. I love this. It's great. It's great. Everything is fine.
Congrats.
Everything is fine. We have to overtrade for shitty left-handed pitching because nobody will sign with us because we have, yeah. Just makes me really angry, man. It just, God damn it.
Let us know how you really feel.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So moving on, we got the Guardians. They traded for Andres Jimenez from the
Mhm.
Blue Jays. So I'm just
Yep.
I'm curious about this because at least on paper it looks like that's a good trade for them. I don't know as much of what they gave up, if that's going to be how that's going to prove in the future, because again, it's these prospects, you don't know exactly how they're going to pan out. But is this a trade that you liked, or is it one that you feel like doesn't really help them out a ton?
Um. So Jimenez went to the Blue Jays, and for the record,
Oh, did I say that wrong?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh
No, it's okay.
man. Okay.
It's okay. But like, it's a weird trade because I think Jimenez was like one of the higher paid players that they have,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think it really matters to them. Because Cleveland's another one of those teams they just keep calling out prospects that you're like, oh, all right, and then they just it's kind of like a plug and play system with them. They're like, cool, Jose Ramirez is our guy, Shane Bieber's our guy,
Yeah.
cool. Emmanuel Class is our closer. Everything else we'll just like we'll piece it together and figure it out. And this seems to be like what they're doing. Like so, it feels weird because Toronto. This doesn't really make Toronto a contender.
Mm-hmm.
It just kind of makes Toronto. This is like a pretty Toronto move. Yeah. So I'm not really. I think that Cleveland will be fine. They just kind of have a minor league system that's usually pretty loaded, so it's fine.
Okay.
They'll be okay. Yeah, and I don't love the trade, but like I understand that I'm sure for Cleveland they just wanted to make sure they stay under the luxury tax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do
So
their due diligence, right?
yeah,
The last one that I had on here for baseball was the Rangers with Jake Berger. So
man, that's a good. I like that trade. I
okay.
do. I do. Texas kind of. That's a sneaky good trade for them.
Mm-hmm.
Texas has the prospects to give up. Um, Berger's on a pretty team friendly deal, and the dude just like there's a dude in the Major League Baseball that his last name is Berger, and he just mashes home runs. That's what he does.
I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
just
Like
I
it's a
mean
good move.
that's what I'll tell my kids a man is. Um
Yeah, you should. Yeah, guy named Jake Berger. Like,
yeah, nice little shout out to him for sure. So
but yeah, no, he's super young. And I like Texas kind of needed to do something because they just sucked. Like nobody was healthy.
yeah, that's just like the weird thing too, because like they went from the World Series to just not playing well last year. And I know that happens, right? There's we
Yeah,
talk about that in football too, the Super Bowl hangover. I think it's similar, right? World Series hangover, but it just didn't look good for them at all last year. Injury wise, playing wise, like even when the guys were healthy, it didn't seem like they were playing very well together.
yeah, yeah. He hit 29 homers last year. He's your in today's game, he's your typical power hitter. Hit 29 homers, struck out 150 times, doesn't draw a ton of walks. He just kind of hits dingers or it's dingers or strikeouts.
Yeah.
And like Texas is a pretty good Texas is a pretty good like place to hit baseballs. And like after the season, he's eligible for arbitration. Like he's still under Texas control for a little while. Like and his salary this year is 760 grand.
Good.
That's yeah, it's good for him. And you know, with Texas, they re-signed Evaldi. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, they
and
did.
I was kind of bummed about that because I was kind of hoping that he would come back to Boston. That was like the guy that I was like, man, if we're gonna get pitching, let's pay Evaldi. Like
Yeah.
we know what that guy's capable of. He's beloved in Boston. Like, yeah. So it's a good move for Texas. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we should see more moves coming here after you said the winter meetings went through.
Yeah, there
They're
wasn't a
going
lot of
this.
action.
Yeah. Did
Yeah.
that end up the golden at bat? Did that?
No, they haven't. They didn't vote it through. So,
Yeah.
but they still keep talking about it, and
Yeah,
God damn it, I hope not.
yeah, me
Like,
too. Me too. I feel like that changes too much of the game and just pad stats and
I agree.
unnecessarily. It's more to sell tickets than it is anything else. There's some things
I agree.
that I feel like just shouldn't change. But let's anything else about baseball before we transition into the NFL?
No, I think we're good, man. Like I said,
Okay.
it's we're like 2 months away from spring training, so I love that. And
Yeah.
I already miss baseball, so
Yeah,
yeah,
that's and it was only a month ago, right?
yeah,
It
yeah.
just
No, it's good. Like the Sox are making dumb moves. Like it's everything I love. Everything I love.
Yeah.
Like
Listen, Uncle
yeah,
Raj is going to be in your ear talking about those Yankees all off season. So,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Next, your Uncle Roger listens to this show. Like, I wonder what it was like to make the World Series and lose again. Like, huh? Hmm.
I think a
Yeah.
lot of Dodgers fans know what that was like for a couple years there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yep. Good for Uncle Roger. That's all I'll say. Good for your Uncle Roger.
Yeah, hit us up in the
Yeah.
comment section, bud.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on to the NFL. So the Rams, listen, they beat the 49ers what seems like a long time ago on Thursday Night Football and basically a snore fest. But the reason I wanted to bring that up, ooh, it looks like I froze there. The reason I
Mm.
wanted to bring that up was because with that win, they move into first place in the division. Really, really cool. And
Yeah.
this
Between
is
that and the Seattle free fall.
yeah,
Yeah.
this
Like
is
it's
starting to kind of feel like it did in 2010 when the Seahawks won the division with a 7-9 record. Like it feels like, as you say, someone legally needs to win this division.
they do.
That's what it's starting to feel like. So I don't think there was much to talk about in that game. I mean, Puka Nakua is just he's must watch football. Uh,
How about Cooper Cup putting up 0 catches and 0 yards in a fantasy playoff week?
Yeah, for the first
Woo!
time since
Boy,
2019. And thank God I
God,
had him on a
Lee.
bye week on one of my teams, and the other, I just wasn't in the playoffs.
Sure.
Because that would have been really disappointing to make the playoffs, and then that happened. That
Yeah.
that would have felt really sad. Not good.
As somebody that had George Kittle in the Bennett League, like he really didn't do like he got me 10 points and that was it. And I was
But
like,
from a tight
God,
end
like,
position, that's okay. Not everyone can be a
yeah,
Brock Bowers, you know. So,
right. But yeah,
um,
no, that game was a snooze fest.
yeah,
It was
the
tough
one
to watch.
the one thing that I want to bring up about that game, and just I hate giving light to negative stuff, but I feel like it needs to be at least be discussed because we didn't talk about it. But Devondre Campbell. So
Yeah.
basically what happened was the 49ers ended up losing some of their linebackers during the game.
And also, it's to be mentioned that Dre Greenlaw, this was his first game back
Yeah.
from tearing his Achilles in the Super Bowl. And like kind of needed some plays off because he was like a little banged up. Like wasn't 100%, but he was out there gutting it out.
Yeah.
Like
And this was the guy, for those of you that don't know, that was like kind of jumping excitedly on the sideline during the Super Bowl and like tore his ACL as he was like ready to like plant and like run onto the field. He was so
yeah,
hyped up. It was really sad. And at that point, like they even talked about it this week on the networks, but like the Kansas City Chiefs on the sideline were like, yo, they just lost one of their best linebackers, right? Like Fred
yeah,
Warner is the best linebacker on that team. Dre Greenlaw is the heart and soul of that defense.
yeah,
So like
yeah.
very, very good to see him back, but definitely
Mhm.
needed some, a few plays off. There was another linebacker as well that I believe ended up with a neck injury.
Yeah.
Which just, sad to see that stuff happen, but injuries happen in the game of football. It's going to happen. But they
Mhm.
call on Devondre Campbell, who it's not his first
Yeah.
rodeo, right? Like this guy got
Yeah.
drafted by the Falcons back in I think like 2016, something like that. It just they call on him to go in there and he's dressed, ready to go and just says no. And
Yeah.
and I mean like the only thing I could think after this, I say the only thing, but there's quite a few thoughts. But the first thing that came to my mind was kind of a sick thought, in that, wow, this makes Anthony Richardson look better.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah, it
Yeah, it
kind of
does.
does, because
Yeah,
at least he
it
wasn't
does.
saying like I'm unwilling to go in. This guy suited up. There's plenty of guys that would beg to suit up each week just
Yeah.
to go out there and play for their team. But my biggest takeaways was like, okay, I want to understand afterwards. That's why I'm glad we didn't talk about it the next day. I wanted to kind of see how things were going to settle. They're going to suspend him for 3 games. I'd be shocked to see him,
Which is
again.
what I really loved is that they could have just cut him and he could have signed with another team for the playoffs.
Yeah.
And they were just like, no, we're
Yeah,
not going
but
to give you like
yeah, but dude, who is going to sign this guy?
somebody will. Somebody would have. He's just talented enough that like somebody would have put up with that for a chance at a ring.
Dude,
Yeah.
it's insane. Like I am glad too that they suspended him, but I think the one that really got me wasn't Charvarius Ward talking about it, but George Kittle. Because like Kittle is a guy that, and I mean, you talk about it from a fantasy perspective. Like if you do not see a Q next to his name in fantasy every week, it's not like
I get worried.
yeah, it's
I
not
get
normal.
worried.
But that guy
Yeah.
plays through so many injuries. It's insane.
Yeah.
Like he is always banged up. Always, and part of it is because he's not your prototypical tight end where he just goes out. I say that, but like most tight ends are blockers and then catch the ball on the side sometimes. He's not a pass catching tight end. He's a guy that is a blocking tight end. Oh, that sometimes catches the ball too and is
Yeah.
very, very good at catching the ball. So, like, he prides himself on being a big physical blocker, and sometimes he's going to get hurt doing that.
You talk about Dre Greenlaw being the heart and soul of the 49ers. That George Kittle's the other half of that heart
Yeah.
and soul for the 49ers.
Absolutely.
Like he's the guy, like people in San Francisco love that man.
Yeah.
Like
He's insane. He's awesome.
receiver too. Like he's kind of the person that you kind of like not fall in love with, but you're like, oh man, I have a whole new appreciation for this guy.
Yeah. Yeah. He's always positive. It's insane. All the
Yeah.
time. All the time
Yeah.
he's positive. But when you hear him, and this was part of the only time that I've heard him say something negative, he says like, yeah, I've never seen that happen before. Like not a guy I ever want to play with.
Yeah.
Like
So I don't know if you got a chance to watch any of the pregame shows on Sunday. So more of it came out what happened, and John Lynch came down from the box and told him to leave after he found out what was going on. He like got into his face and like yelled at him and was like, "Get out! Like leave!
I
Like
did
go back to
not
the
know
locker
that.
room."
I didn't
Yep.
know that.
Yep.
Man.
Yeah, they I think it was the Fox pregame show because he apparently has like John Lynch has like two personalities. There's John Lynch GM, and then there's Red 47, which is like the guy that used to play football.
Oh
And
yeah.
everybody's like, we never get to see that guy. And we saw it on the sidelines when he threw him out into the locker room.
Yeah.
Like, and everybody's like, oh man. Like
That's the guy that would have played without a helmet if it was allowed.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they and I guess like players were like talking about it after, and they were just like, yeah, never saw that side of that guy. Glad I don't have to play against him.
I gotta watch the clips on that because that's frightening. Like
Yep.
I mean John
I don't
Lynch.
know if there's any video clips of it, but like it's been pretty widely reported that Lynch came down and told him to like go back to the locker room then. Like
Yeah. I don't know, man.
Which-
Those GMs that are former players, I love that because I feel like they have
Yeah.
a different appreciation for and a good business understanding, but also like a new appreciation for what it's like, right? They've lived it. So
yeah. But this kind of adds to the 49ers like year from hell. Like it just doesn't stop with them.
yeah, it really does, man. It has not been a good year, and I know people are going to be like, "Don't pay Purdy now," right? Like, don't pay him now. And it's like, dude, he was not the issue this year at all,
Yeah.
at all, man. It really,
Yeah. He did the I agree. It's just a bad situation right now in San Francisco. And yeah, I'm glad that like I said, I'm glad that they suspended him so that he can't get onto another team
yeah,
for like a playoff run.
yeah.
So
That oh, man, it's just a really sad story to hear about. Really sad
Yeah.
story. So Commanders, listen, I mean, let's talk about something better now. Jesus. Commanders,
Yeah.
man, they almost lose to the Saints. Did you see this game?
Okay, so for fantasy implications, I picked up Washington late in the week as a defense because
Yeah.
my option was Buffalo, and I was like, I'm not starting him against Detroit. That's as somebody that started them against the Rams and got negative points. I was like, I'm not doing this 2 weeks in a row. I'm
Yeah.
just not. And I looked in there. I think there was like, I don't know, 50 seconds left, and I was like, oh, cool. They've only let up like a few points. They're gonna get me 13 points in fantasy. Great, love that. I then probably checked like 5 minutes later because I was just curious. And then they were down to like 7 and they won 20-19. And I was like, what happened?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I ended up like going back and like watching the replay and like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah.
first of all, for the clock to stop on its own
Yeah.
is bonkers.
Yeah. Yep.
Second of all, for New Orleans to be like, you know what, let's go for the 2-point conversion, also bonkers.
I actually really liked it just because I feel like in that moment they got nothing to lose, dude.
Yeah, they have nothing to play for, really.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
they're not going to the playoffs, so if they can, I mean, I think they had been eliminated by that point. So if they're going to win, I mean, Alvin Kamara went down earlier in the game. I mean, they had no business. They could not drive the football at all. Finally,
no.
they let Spencer Rattler come in, and finally they start making some plays and stuff. And I'm like, I'm sitting there watching the game in fantasy. I had Juwan Johnson, and I'm like, really? 0 points going deep into the fourth quarter. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
this is
God, this is
exactly,
great.
yeah, this is exactly how I envision this. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. Insane. But
Yeah.
the Commanders, I feel like, have had too many of those games. And it made me think about some of what you had said earlier that it's clear this is still a young team.
Yep. I'm gonna say a thing. I don't trust this team come playoff time. Like,
No,
they're gonna
no.
make the playoffs, it looks like.
Yeah, they
But like,
will.
if you tell me that they're gonna get bounced in round one, I'd be like, cool, that makes sense.
But
Like,
I could also see this team all of a sudden, Jaden Daniels is like lighting it up because he's a dynamic playmaker, man. Some of the things
yeah.
that I've seen him do, Tua needs to watch this guy. This guy, Tua's still diving head first. I don't know what he's doing, man. Jaden Daniels all of a sudden is like sidestepping people and running out of bounds before he gets hit. He's smart about it,
Yeah.
dude. He's not going to get hurt doing that. He may get hurt, but he's not going to get hurt doing the way he's doing it right now. I just
Right.
I don't know, man. I like this team. I I can't. I'm with you though. I can't trust them. Can't trust them.
Yeah. I think that like they had a good little run there to start the season, but
They
like
did. They beat a lot of not so great teams though.
Jaden Daniels hasn't been the same since he got hurt. I think it was that like Tennessee game where he got knocked out like really early.
In the ribs, right?
Yeah, and he
Yep.
just hasn't kind of been the same since then.
Yeah, he's had a few
So
good games, but none that are like really great. He had a few touchdown passes this week, which was nice.
yeah,
I'll be honest
they've
with you,
lost.
but
They've had like 3 wins that could have very easily been losses and
ab-
should have been. And
absolutely,
like, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So
Well, another team that I just don't trust at all, and like this again, I feel like we're pumping you up, right? This guy, Miami
yeah,
loses to Houston, and listen, this just reminds me of exactly what you've preached since last year, week 5 of last year when Miami
yeah,
went to Buffalo. I do not trust this team. They cannot beat a good team, and I'm
no,
not even saying that Houston's a good team, but Miami made them look good. And Miami's defense is fairly good, right? Like they're very difficult to throw against. They gave CJ Stroud a lot of problems. Mixon was not running the ball that well. I mean, Houston has had its struggles this year. But Miami just, I mean, it just does not look good for them. And then all of a sudden, they start coming back, and it looks like, oh man, things might actually turn around. Jonnu Smith is like, let me catch 12 balls in the fourth quarter. I don't even know, dude. I don't know, but
yeah,
Miami just does not seem like they're in a good spot right now, and
no.
I don't. Tua's another guy, man, that I don't get it.
And,
Some games he has where he looks incredible, and then others where I'm like, is this guy an NFL quarterback still?
and the thing that like I saw was that he's still like he's scrambling and still diving head first.
Yeah, that just to me,
Yeah,
like, and I'm seeing people on the sidelines, like his teammates with their mouths open, like, no, dude, what are you doing?
and and like that extension kicked in for him, so like that, like they're paying him a lot of money to go potentially 8 and 9 every year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be very interesting what happens with them, because with them losing now, and I don't want to jinx it, but I feel like me saying this is automatically jinxing it. With them losing, they're 6-8. The Colts lost, they're 6-8 because they lost to Denver. And guess who
Mhm.
else is 6-8?
God damn it! I knew you were gonna fucking talk about this.
The
Cincinnati. I
Cincinnati
know.
Bengals, baby. And I'll tell you, like, it is, they are not a sure bet for the playoffs. They aren't. But
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't want to count them out. I'm looking right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Dude, it really could be that, man. It
They they play Cleveland this week, and then their last two games are against Denver and Pittsburgh,
Yeah,
and
but
like
this is the thing.
they need
So
to win all three games.
yeah, so Denver, they have to win out. The Bengals have to win out. But this is the other
Yeah.
thing. They Denver and the Chargers and the Chiefs all have to play each other. And I don't know if you saw, we're going to talk about it, but what went on in the Kansas City game is going to have implications for these teams. It
Yeah.
definitely will. I'm not positive now that Kansas City is going to win those games. I don't
Um.
know.
My theory is that I think the Saturday game against Houston, they're not going to start Mahomes. They're not
Huh.
going to. I think they're going to start him. They're going to sit him until the Christmas game against Pittsburgh, because that's a game they need,
Okay.
because they have the 2 game cushion. They can afford to lose a game. They can.
Well, let's talk about
Yeah.
because I know, listen, Houston, it looks like is going to win that division running away now, because the Colts are 3 games back.
Can I say something about Houston? I don't trust I don't trust them in the playoffs either.
But this is
CJ Stroud has really regressed in a way that, like, boy, yeah, I just like, they're gonna play a round 1 game, and you could tell me that they're gonna get smashed, and I'd be like, okay,
yeah, I
sure,
could see that happen. They're back in the playoffs, so I can't fault them. But this is the thing that really scares me for them. They're 7-2 in the conference, which is a pretty good record to have. The
sure,
division, okay, they're 4-1. I get that piece. They're going to play a few more divisional games in the next few weeks here, but they're 7-2 in the conference, which is a good record to have. But they play pretty good defense,
they
meaning
do,
their defensive backs, like, they picked off 2 or 3 times this week. Like, it
yeah.
was, I don't know, man. You get pressure on the quarterback and you're able to pick off passes.
Will Anderson is just a menace on that defensive
He
line.
is,
He
he
is
is,
an
dude.
absolute menace.
He is absolutely menace.
They're double teaming him at this point. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
It doesn't. He's just breaking through the line.
yeah. He's doing his part. They're looking
Yeah,
like geniuses. Nick Casero is for trading back up and getting him. But let's move on, because I know we're going to come back to them at some point
yeah.
here in conversation. But the Eagles smashed the Steelers, and I know. Listen, the game wasn't as far apart as like a smashing, but in my mind, like,
Uh,
Pittsburgh
yeah. I was gonna say, yeah.
Pittsburgh usually keeps the games close, right? Like, you look at it, it's 2-score game, right? 2-score game, but Pittsburgh's defense usually doesn't give up 27 points.
Pittsburgh's defense also doesn't give up a 21 play 10-minute drive.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it now. The amount of times this year against the Bengals, they gave up 38. They gave up 27 against the Commanders. And that's they gave up 27 against the Colts. And that's
Yeah.
it.
Pittsburgh in this game, there was some weird stuff. Like Pittsburgh 3 for 10 on third down.
Yep.
Philly was 10 of 17 on third down.
Yeah, I mean, that's
And then
just...
like always, you know what? Kind of always. First of all, also Pittsburgh only rushed for 56 yards.
Yeah, which you're not going to beat. Not going to beat a good team doing that.
And then the time of possession was 2-1 almost. Philly had the ball for
Yeah.
39, almost 40 minutes of a 60-minute game.
Watt too. That's not a good thing.
Yeah. Yep.
Because they absolutely need him. If they're going to be able to get things figured out, uh, it just I don't know, man. I do not know.
Also, but a little concerning. Barkley left that game too, for Philly. Saquon Barkley.
Yeah,
Um, so like, I think he'll be fine. But like, that's kind of the thing with Saquon is like always gets nicked up and hurt at some point, and like this is like the wrong time for that to happen.
yeah,
Like,
bad time for him to get hurt. It
yeah,
does look like they're saying it's an undisclosed issue, but um, basically he was held in check the for the majority of the game.
yeah,
You know, I mean, you kind of expect that, but the guy's having a monster season, absolute ridiculous season in the league this year. I don't know. I'm just not sold on Pittsburgh. And listen, it's not far off to think, not far off to think it at all. Like, okay, they may end up winning the division because the other teams are awful right now, right? Well, you've got the Ravens that are
actually,
there.
I think Baltimore still has a shot at this division. Like,
Oh boy, I'm so glad you brought them up, man.
yeah, I think I'm just hear me out. There's a world. There is just a world where that happens. Like, look at Pittsburgh's schedule. Like,
Yeah,
I know I know Pittsburgh holds the tiebreaker over them. Like, I get that, and like, and this is a big game right now. The them playing this weekend, like that's a huge game.
yeah, but
Like that is a huge game.
well,
Like
so
Pittsburgh's schedule is Baltimore, Kansas City, and Cincinnati to finish the season.
yeah,
You could tell me they go 0-3, and I'd believe it.
yeah, but dude, Baltimore's playing the Steelers, the Texans, and the Browns. You could tell me they go 0-3, and I believe that.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
it's that's why like this round robin of games that they're gonna play, and this is what I really like, and I don't think it's necessarily adding week 18 or anything like that, but the meaningful games at the end of the year feel like they matter. They're
Yep.
definitely going to matter. I know Cincinnati's looking at it like, listen, we know what we need to do. We're prepared to do it. They didn't panic against Tennessee. They got it figured out and stuff
Yeah.
and won that game. That they're it's not easy for them either, man. It's really not. I mean,
Yeah.
the Browns they'll play this week. They should win that game. Jameis Winston is a turnover machine. He's handing them out for
Well,
Christmas.
James got benched this week, so
Yeah.
like
Who did they bring in instead for him? Uh,
I I don't even know, and I
Dorian
just
Thompson Robinson, I think it was.
DTR, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
I
I
think
remember that guy from the preseason.
yeah. So I think they brought him in, just because it looked brutal. It really did. Uh,
Yeah,
but then they play the Broncos, who that's a tough game, but at least they play at home, and then they have to go at Pittsburgh, and that on the 5th of January is going to be a really tough game. That's
yeah.
that's going to be a tough one. I just this is the thing, man. Some of the I'm still not like even watching this week, like the watching the Ravens, they should have won that game 50-5, 50 to
I don't
7,
think they.
right?
My counter argument to that is they didn't really. They kind of had this game wrapped up by the fourth quarter. Like
Okay,
they didn't really
but let me
need
ask
to.
you. Let me ask you. Okay, so we'll go that route with it, right? That
Sure.
the game was wrapped up by the fourth quarter. They win 35-14, but they're up 21-7 and they still couldn't run the ball worth a damn.
They didn't need to.
But
Like,
that's the thing. Like come playoff time, which is
oh, I agree.
it's going to
But
matter. They're not going to
yeah,
be able to throw the ball like this. They don't play in a dome, dude. They don't.
I know.
Like they're going to have to go to Buffalo in the snow or go to Kansas City in the snow and throw the ball like that. And I don't think they
Yeah.
can do that. I just don't, man. I mean,
Well, I think too. Like, fuck, I'm gonna make the same argument I did last year, and I feel dumb making it. So like,
yeah.
I just like they ran the ball for 170 yards as a team.
Yeah, I mean,
Like they're the top rushing team in the NFL this
I
season,
know, but it
and
just
it doesn't fall on Lamar anymore. That's the thing.
yeah, okay, so listen, again, I'm nitpicking at them because they're still running the ball well, but it just doesn't look effective. It
I
doesn't.
agree.
It just
I agree.
it doesn't. When you watch them play, it's janky. like what if they don't complete this one pass? Like if they didn't have the long touchdown pass to Rashad Bateman, it doesn't look good, right? Like
Yeah, this was Rashad Bateman has that one game every year where like, yeah, Rashad Bateman, and then you
yeah.
don't hear from him again.
Well, because he's
Yeah,
hurt. But this year he's
yeah,
actually been healthy for the whole season, which is
yeah.
crazy. Or most of it. But I don't know. I still don't trust this team, dude. I
Oh,
still don't.
I don't trust them at this point to win a big like the game against Pittsburgh this week. That's a huge game. That is a must-win game
And
that they get to play at home. I don't trust them to win that game.
no, I don't either.
Even if TJ Watt's out, I don't trust them to win that game.
Yeah. If TJ
But
Watt's
like,
not there, I
I'm
like
just
their
saying,
chances a little bit more, but I I don't know, man.
the roadmap is there for Baltimore to win this division still. That's all I'm
Yeah.
saying. The roadmap's still there. Just like for Cincinnati, the roadmap is still there for them to make the playoffs. They need a little bit of help, but like, yep,
Yeah. The one thing that I wanted to check as we talk about Cincinnati, because so the Chargers, the rest of the way, they play the Broncos, the Patriots, and Raiders. So here's the thing. If the Broncos have to win out, they'll make the playoffs, right? If they do. Um
ah,
if the Broncos win out,
sure.
they're making the playoffs, right?
Oh, sure, but
They'll
like,
they'll finish at 12-5. But
yeah,
if they start losing some games, this is the thing. And one of those games is to Cincinnati. Cincinnati would win the tiebreaker over them. Now the Chargers have
yeah.
only won 8 games, but if they win 2 more, they're going to make the playoffs over the Bengals, and then the Bengals season is over.
Can we? I just want to talk about real quick that Bucks Chargers game. That showed me like the Chargers are still a year away team because like as good as they are defensively, they just can't put up points.
Yeah.
They can't get into a
Well,
shootout with a team. They
I
can't.
I would love nothing more than to see the Patriots take one off of them. And even better, like if the Broncos, I want the Broncos to win this week, because if they do, that's basically the shot. I think the Bengals have a better shot of the Chargers not making the playoffs than the Broncos not making it. Because the Broncos win one game and they're in.
Yeah.
One more game and they're in. I mean the Ravens aren't going to lose 3 games, but
They might
the
with that
Broncos,
schedule they
the
have.
Broncos or the
They might.
Ravens win one more and they're in. The Chargers have to win 2 and they're in. And the Bengals, they've got to win out, and hope that some of those teams lose.
Really, what it is I think there's going to be four teams gunning for that last playoff spot. I really, when it's all said and done, I think like Baltimore and Denver will win one more game to kind of wrap things up, and I really think it's Chargers, Colts, Dolphins, Bengals fighting for that last playoff spot. And like,
Yeah.
no offense to your Colts, but like what I watched in that Denver game,
Oh,
I've seen enough.
yeah. I've
Do
seen enough
you
too.
want to talk about that for 30 seconds?
No, dude. Jonathan Taylor, like, dude, I've seen so many plays like that of people like letting go of the football before they're in the end zone, and it's mental lapse, dude. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, it really just. I mean, it's easy to sit on the sidelines and be an armchair quarterback and be hypocritical of these guys because, I didn't suit up and score touchdowns and do all of that shit. But, like, at the same time,
Yeah.
hold on to the damn ball, dude. That's what you're getting paid millions of dollars for. I'm
Well,
out there. I don't know. It's super frustrating.
my thing was the what was it, the double reverse that got picked off for a pick six. That might have been the slowest double reverse I've ever seen happen in a game. Like the linebacker for Denver was like, hey, you know what? I'm pretty sure this is a reverse happening. And like watching it, like watching the game, like you don't see him in the screen until he picks it off. He just comes out of the screen from nowhere and then it just is gone.
Dude, it just, for me, it's infuriating.
I don't think Richardson's your quarterback. I don't. I'm gonna say it. Like
I don't want to say I've seen enough, but dude, I've seen enough.
I have. Yeah. I don't. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
And that sucks, dude. I'm like, I love you and I know you love the Colts, but like I just don't see it, man.
yeah, me neither.
I don't.
He needs a lot of growing in this league, and I know it takes time. I get that and stuff, but some of the growth I've seen in guys like Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels this year has given me, like, even Drake May, like,
Yeah.
it's tough to look at those guys and not feel good, and then you feel like Richardson has like regressed from those guys, right? Because really you
Yeah.
could put him and say like, oh, he got injured last year, so this was his rookie year, right? But you're comparing him to these guys that are playing well, and it's frustrating to see.
And the thing
Um,
with Drake May is like he has bad coaching. Right? Like I watch it every week. I watch
yeah,
him for 3 quarters. They just run the ball and throw these little screen passes, and then they're like, "Oh shit, we're down 20. Hey, Drake May, maybe get outside the pocket and start slinging it." And
yeah,
then he does, and you're like, "Oh, cool." Like,
yeah.
yeah.
Guy's got a
I hope they get
rocket
rid of.
for an arm, but
I hope they get rid of Gerard Mayo. I'll say it.
oh man. I'm
He give
actually
me.
a Mayo fan, man. Ever since he came out of Tennessee, I wish the Colts had drafted him. He was
Did
such
I
a
ever
good
tell you
foot.
the Gerard Mayo story? I have.
No.
So okay, so the second Super Bowl with the Giants. Okay, that whole playoff run, I had a '86 Patriots throwback jersey. And it was a Gerard Mayo one,
Oh.
and I wore that every game of the playoffs and hadn't washed it. Hadn't washed it because hey, with superstition, you got to ride with your team, and
Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah, you got it.
yeah, you get
Yeah.
it, you get it. And I Super Bowl Sunday, I go to do a load of laundry, and I accidentally throw it in the wash, and then throw it in the dryer, so it shrinks and is all torn to shit.
Oh no.
Patriots start that game with taking a safety, and yeah,
Oh man.
yeah,
It's
it's
on
my
you.
Gerard Mayo story.
It's on you, dude.
It is. Yeah, it is.
One thing I want to just mention before we get into this last piece here, because with the Eagles winning that game, like they're tied with Detroit, but Detroit right now has the best win percentage in the conference, so they're going to win the tiebreaker over Philly right now. They're 8-1 in the conference. Philly is 7-2.
Yeah.
But I just think it's very interesting because the Eagles look good right now. I'm not going to say they
Yeah.
look great, but they do look good. And if they can run the ball behind that beast of an offensive line they have, and with who we're going to talk about here in a second with Detroit, uh, they're not far over Detroit's shoulder right now.
It's wild to me that Detroit reeled off an 11-game win streak and are still fighting for their lives for the 1 seed and to just win their fucking division.
Yeah. Yep.
Because Minnesota's 12-2 as well.
Yeah, but the way they've
Like,
done it is completely different, right? Like the amount of
yeah.
close games that Minnesota's won, it seems insane. Insane, dude. Like it really does.
Like Minnesota could win out and get the 1 seed potentially if Detroit loses a game.
Yeah, yeah. Let me ask you something about Minnesota before we dive into Detroit here.
Yeah.
Are you a believer in Sam Darnold?
As somebody that got cost his spot in Guillotine League because I didn't start Sam Darnold, yeah, I think about it a lot. And
so you're not a
what?
believer in him, but because of not believing in him, you now believe in him.
Yeah, you understand that logic.
Yeah, I got it.
What I think is fascinating is that last game of the season for the Vikings, you know where they have to travel to? Detroit.
It may not
There's
matter.
a world.
It may not matter,
There's a
but
world
yeah, I
where
hope it does.
That is a double winner take all for the division and the 1 seed.
Yeah, dude.
Man, God, I love.
I mean, it really
God,
depends, and we're gonna get into it next week. But it really depends. Like Philly plays Washington, the Cowboys, the Giants. They've got a cake schedule the rest of the way, and Detroit, not only with the Vikings there, but they also have to play. They're gonna play the Bears and the 49ers.
that's
yeah,
that's 49ers. I know they're kind of a scrub team this year, but they still have talent. Like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So let's talk about him, right? Because Josh Allen carries, and I think if anyone is not saying Josh Allen is the MVP this year, I understand you like Lamar. I get that piece. Not you, but I'm saying like I understand.
Sure.
America likes Lamar. Josh Allen, what he's doing this year, dude, he's living his best life.
Yeah.
He just went into what we thought was the best team in football, right?
And put up 45 on him.
Yeah. And did it in a way that made them have to respect him.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was incredible what he did.
I think that, you know what was cool was like, and we've all seen Josh Allen do this before, but against like a really good team, there's a rollout that he has where he's rolling to the side and he's at the sideline and
Yeah.
he's about to get hammered.
Yeah.
And he takes that hit and hits Keon Coleman for a 50-yarder.
Yeah.
And you're just like, all right, cool.
Yeah, and
Cool. And
and
like
and
he got
throws it
rocked
like a
too.
dove, right? Like
Yep.
whoosh, no big deal.
Yep.
The
And
amount
he
of
gets
strength.
rocked.
Yeah. Yeah.
He got rocked on that hit. And he just like gets up and you're like, all right. You're like, cool. How do you defend that?
He's insane, dude. It really like I love
Yeah.
watching him. By the way, the recap of that game, I watched it 3 times.
Oh yeah.
Just being able to see that, I knew I had that circled at the beginning of the year. Like this is going to be a classic game. It really
Yeah.
is. And a potential Super Bowl matchup. Like I don't know. And
I'll tell you,
Detroit,
fantasy implications wise, it was a huge
yeah,
matchup.
yeah,
Like,
it was. He had yeah for both squads, right?
yeah.
Yeah, we'll touch on that in a second here.
Yeah.
Detroit, very concerning, right? They lose Montgomery for the year, who is
That's huge.
just really sad because talk about a guy who you watched, I watched many years spend in Chicago and not like you saw the talent, but you didn't realize that like he was that good because he wasn't running behind a great offensive line. He was getting
Yeah.
carries, but like the team couldn't do anything else except kind of run the ball sometimes and maybe throw an errant pass a few times that would connect on third down so he get a few more carries. But he is the 1-2 punch in this running game that really made this engine cook in Detroit.
Yeah.
And I mean, I loved having him in fantasy this year, but I loved watching him play. That was another piece of it. Uh, I just curious, like with him gone now, it's Gibbs like all the way. Can he
Yeah.
shoulder the load? And like, how do you think this changes the Lions?
I'm going to say something about Gibbs and Montgomery. They both were really good because they had the other as a teammate and I think that changes now. And like, no offense to Jahmyr Gibbs, but Jahmyr Gibbs is a speed guy.
Yeah, he first of all, like, and I have to say it because every time he gets outside, like you know he's running to the outside, right? Anytime
Yeah.
he's in, you can't stop it.
No. He gets there so quick that it doesn't matter what
Yeah,
defense you
it's
call.
it's insane, dude. It's insane how fast this guy is. It is his elusiveness is just off the charts. And I worried when they drafted him, like, oh, maybe is this guy gonna be that good? I knew he was good at Alabama, but like, okay, like, is he big enough for the NFL? Dude, he doesn't seem to have a problem at all.
No.
Not at all, man.
Nope.
Catch me if you can.
Yeah.
But it worries
Yeah.
me what you said about like one needing the other.
Because like he didn't have a like the game against Buffalo, like he had a monster stats, but like it wasn't him really running the ball. Like Montgomery got hurt pretty early, and they just pretty much kind of now granted they were down, Detroit was down most of this game, so they kind of had to sling it.
Yeah.
But like Gibbs wasn't really effective as a runner. 8 for 31, but like as a receiver,
Very,
he had
very
five
good.
for 83.
Well,
Yeah.
so they've got a few guys now with Craig Reynolds, Sion Vaki, but which I don't know, like that just doesn't. They're both smaller backs. I don't know. I just had a thought like, how awesome would it be if they signed like Marshawn Lynch out of retirement and like he came in and ran behind this line
Yeah.
and the whole theme of it was like, yo, we're gonna
They're
run
gonna
the
fight.
ball.
They might employ Big Ray Myro on the defensive line at this point.
Yeah.
Like, good lord.
Yeah, the defensive line is rough, man.
It's a
Like
mess.
they lose Alim McNeil, which is just that's really
Yeah.
really tough to an ACL. And the sad thing is losing him in December too. So that puts
Yeah.
him like not even back at the beginning of the season next year, very likely. Just this whole the secondary, they lost 2 cornerbacks, not for the year, but like lost 2 cornerbacks in the game. It just I don't know, man. Like they have just been hampered by injuries. I think I saw something on Instagram that was saying this team has more guys on IR this year, and it's like 15 more guys than any other team.
Yeah.
Like
And like you can usually come back from a couple of those injuries, but like they're kind of at the point of no return. And like the thing is this is defensively, they're kind of shot at this point, but here's the thing, they can win shootouts.
Yeah, they
That's
can.
that's
And
kind of the beauty of them. And that's kind of the beauty of Buffalo too, is like defensively, they're not great, but Buffalo can hang with you in a shootout.
yeah.
Like
Yeah. It just I don't know.
it's
It's
just not
gonna
a recipe for success in the playoffs.
yeah,
It's not.
it's gonna be really, really tough for them, but we will see what happens going forward. I don't
That
know.
game was incredible though.
Yeah, yeah, it
That
really
game was
was.
incredible.
Listen, I trust in Dan Campbell, man. I really do. I hope he's
That
able to
onside
figure it
kick
out.
call, that onside kick call is a weird one.
Yeah, it
Especially
was.
because you have to declare it now. You can't just like sneak up on an onside kick. You have to
No.
declare it.
Yeah.
But
Um,
like,
I'm not sure I like that too much, but
um,
and it can
I
only
guess
be in
like
the fourth quarter. You have to be losing. It's like
yeah.
I don't know.
And from what I read, like I've read some like analytics pieces on it, and like the analytics weirdly support it in ways, but like even I don't know, man. Like Buffalo was having a hard time stopping you, just like and I get why, because his defense couldn't stop a thing.
Yeah.
So he's like, I gotta hemorrhage the bleeding somehow. But yeah, I don't know. Big game for Buffalo. Like I said, they're still have a shot at the 1 seed, kind of.
Hmm.
Like their schedule is pretty cake the rest of the way. Like,
Yeah, I mean, playing the
like,
Pats, the Jets, and then the Pats again. I mean, it
yeah,
should
like
be
you
3 wins
not
for Buffalo.
ask for a better like you couldn't ask for a better yeah.
But that's why
Which makes that Rams game really weird that they lost, because them not if they had just won that game, Kansas City has to, which we'll talk about, like Kansas City then like they kind of have to like make Mahomes play. And
yeah.
yeah, and it's not the play it's not December of the playoffs unless Patrick Mahomes has an injury.
But this is the crazy thing is if Kansas City doesn't play him this week and Houston wins that game, okay, so now they're 13-2. But then if they play Pittsburgh and he plays and they lose on Christmas, then it's like, by the way, that's on Netflix too. Awesome that I
Yeah.
can watch it here in Turkey. So cool. Really
Oh
excited
man.
about
There's
that.
2 games on Netflix.
Yeah, but the second one I may not be able to stay up for. It's kind of
Sure.
late. But let's move on to fantasy before we wrap up here.
Wait, do you want to talk about the Chiefs thing real quick with Mahomes?
Yeah,
Like,
just with Mahomes, I didn't want to say much on it because I don't know that much about it yet. I'm kind of waiting to
yeah.
see what happens later in the week. I hope he's okay, man. Like, I don't like seeing him limping around. That's not
I
feel
feel like he
good.
does this every year though, and then he wins the Super Bowl. So like, I
Yeah,
don't know.
like he did it last year and they won the Super Bowl, but I don't know. It's almost like the kind of the LeBron effect. Like when you are in the playoffs every single year, that's a lot of games to be playing in.
A lot of extra games.
Yeah, a
Yep.
lot of extra games. It makes me a little concerned, but um, I don't know, man. Like
Yeah.
if they win out, say they have 3 games, say he plays in every game, they're going to play 3 more games.
Yeah.
Then they'll play possibility of 3 more games. So he has 6 games left if he goes to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. I think they're gonna rest him. I think they're gonna rest him this week, and they're just gonna like eat the loss. They might not lose. Carson Wentz might have the game of his life. I don't know.
yeah.
But like
But
if I'm Kansas
history
City,
shows probably not.
probably not. But
Yeah.
I think if you're Kansas City, you got to sit him. You
Yeah.
got to sit him and like just let him rest, and then bring him back because you need that Pittsburgh game at Christmas.
Yeah.
And I think he plays the Christmas game, Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the whole reason for the episode, right? Episode 65. Check
Yeah.
out this guy, and we're gonna be checking
Yeah.
you out because you almost topped 200 points in fantasy this week in the first round of the playoffs.
Shout out Jared Goff for getting me 51 of those points, baby.
Yeah, you
Like,
are moving on, buddy. You are playing now the #1 seed this week. So I just want to give you a chance to talk about it. I know, the floor is yours.
yeah, I'm gonna keep it a little low key. Don't want to jinx anything. I don't want to incur any bad vibes right now. We're teams chugging along after an 0-5 start, stuck with some guys, and we're yeah, it's still a lot of work ahead of me. Still have 3 more games to win.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, here's hoping, man. Here's hoping.
Wait,
Like
3 more?
or
No,
two. Sorry, two.
two.
Sorry,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
two. Yeah,
One down, baby. One down.
yeah, yeah. And I'm just kind of hoping that I can finish in the money and at least get my entrance fee back.
Okay.
And honestly, I said this last week with the Bennett League. It is a league you've talked about for a long time. A spot finally opened up, and it's a lot of people that I love and respect. And it's the Bennett League after our friend Jason, like which, like it's a league that means a lot, which means I put a lot of time and effort into like thinking about that team and that league. And yeah, I'm just glad I'm in the playoffs, and it's a good time. It's
And
a good
there's
time.
also some people in there that you don't respect too.
I'm not going to talk my shit right now. I'm
Yeah,
not. I can't
yeah.
afford. I can't afford those bad vibes, man. I can't
Yeah.
afford them.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
If the season
definitely.
ends,
Yeah.
once the season ends, I will talk all the shit that I want to. Hopefully, it ends, with me being victorious. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
We'll see.
I gotta tell my story, right? So like
No.
I made the playoffs in 3 out of 4 leagues. One was the Guillotine League.
Mm.
The other 2 leagues I was in, and this week I was in my own personal league. I was playing against a guy, and I was down. Let's see, 20, almost 20 points, and he had Aaron Jones going last night. I had Drake London and the Vikings, and a Vikings defense.
Sure.
And first half went through, and London gets the touchdown, and things are looking pretty good. Vikings are keeping them under control. Aaron Jones, I'm within 8 points of him, 9 points, and I'm like, yo, like there's a legitimate chance for me to win this game. And then Aaron Jones scores a touchdown, and it kind of put it out of reach for me. So I am out in that league, which sucks. But hey, I fought really hard, and the fact that I made the playoffs, I started off really good, but then I lost Godwin and I
Yeah.
lost Rasheed Rice before that, and that was not good. But my team would have been excellent. I just couldn't find enough to backfill on that. Dalton Kincaid didn't really pan out, and it was just
Yeah.
tough season for that. But my other league I'm in, I'm the number 1 seed. My
Yeah.
my Yahoo league, and yeah, so I'll play this week. I had a bye this past week, but I'll play this week, and it's supposed to be a close matchup against a guy that I beat once this year and lost to once, so it's going to be tight. Actually, correction on that. I've beat him both times. So to win a third
Right.
time is going to be kind of difficult. But Guillotine is the one that I'm really kind of pumped about because we're doing a round robin at the end, the last 3 weeks for the top 4 teams. And I put up 161 points this week, which really was the leading point
Yeah.
scorer. So right now I'm in the lead, but things can change on a dime, and this is exactly what happened last year. I know
Now,
you've got a
if
question for me.
actually no, the question is, if you want to just kind of let our viewers know, like what, so in our Guillotine League, what do the playoffs look like in our Guillotine League? If you want
Uh,
to kind of let the people know.
okay, so do you mean like format or?
Well, so the playoff format. Yeah, how
Yeah,
the
so
playoffs
so
work.
basically a
Yeah.
guillotine league, like basically you cut a team every week. Well, the
Yep.
last 4 teams that are remaining, instead of cutting a team each week, what I decide to do is do a rotisserie style 3 week sprint at the end.
Yep.
So myself and 3 other teams, we're trying to score as many points as we can over a 3 week period. The team that scores the most, they're gonna win all the prize. And so
Yeah.
I'm hopeful for that. One of the guys in the league really has hoarded his fab all year and done very well and been very smart and methodical about it. And he's the only one with fab left. So his team's already jacked and loaded. And he was predicted to put up like 158 points, something like that, this past week, and he didn't, which was really beneficial for me. But the thing is that I like about it is his team faces a lot of really difficult games in the playoffs. The other 2 teams I am concerned about. Yeah, I do have a 30-point lead, but that can vanish in a week. It can go away very quickly. And I'm
Yeah. Just
very
takes one guy throwing 5 touchdowns and you're yeah,
yeah.
yep. Yep.
Luckily, I've got some good things boding very well for me right now. I've got Josh Allen as my quarterback, which is a great thing. And
Yep.
he's playing in some against like 2 tough defenses, but divisional games where I feel like the Bills are going to really try to establish their dominance over the next 2 weeks. Uh, and then I've got some good receivers. I got Justin Jefferson. I got Bijan at running back in there. Nico Collins as receiver
Oh,
as
you
well.
took Bijan, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, I am. I am.
Oh,
So
okay.
I've got some good
Yeah.
running backs. Chase Brown. Unfortunately, I lost David Montgomery this week. But I've
Yeah.
also got Denver and Denver D and Chris Boswell is my kicker. So very
Yeah.
fortunate for that stuff. But I'm just hoping that things will work out in my favor because I really want to win this league. I put a lot of thought, a lot of effort into it. Would really like to win. And
Yeah.
I've
The
really done
big
a good
prize.
job. Yeah, good job surviving. It's a winner take all. I believe actually second place gets their money back, but other than that, winner takes all, which
Yeah.
is really nice. So really competitive, but I know I've got Mike Evans and he was on my bench this week, and I was trying to think the whole episode of a good excuse to tell you, and I don't have a good one other than
Yeah, so I'm gonna let the viewers know. So in your guillotine team, because I'm still in that league, even though I've been cut. I like to keep tabs on things, and I looked at your team. I was like, boy, he put up a lot of points, but kept Mike Evans on his bench with 31 points. And here's the thing: there
yeah.
are very few rules about fantasy playoffs. One of them is just start Mike Evans.
Yeah,
Just start him.
but this is the thing. The matchup didn't support it. He was playing against the Chargers. The Chargers have a good defense, especially a good secondary.
Yes,
He's
but the
the
history supports. The
yeah,
history supports. Hey, if you have Mike Evans has won people so many fantasy championships.
yeah. So I
Just
I
start him,
hope that doesn't come back to bite me. I really
or you could
hope
just
it
start him this
doesn't.
week.
Yeah,
Like,
he is starting now. He is starting this
Like
week.
you lucked out because you had Nico Collins score 2 touchdowns,
Yeah.
which is great.
And
But
Justin
like,
Jefferson scored one. My guys, I got a really good squad. And I got Brock Bowers at tight end. So
sure.
it's helpful there,
Hey,
but
real quick, can we shout out Justin Jefferson just because the Monday night game? So real quick
yeah,
backstory:
yeah, yeah.
Randy
Thank
Moss
you for doing that.
battling cancer, like that's fucking scary, and you're like Randy Moss is good dude all around, and Justin Jefferson scored a touchdown last night in the Monday night game and like went right to the camera. It's just like, hey, we love you, Randy. And like just classy move from a classy guy. And
Yeah.
it's one of the 600 million reasons that I love Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of people look at him and want to judge him for like his touchdown dances and all of that stuff, but like the guy's a phenomenal player, and I think if you've learned anything about him over this year, especially, and very happy for him by the way, but I mean like coming back from an injury and the way he was hurt last year, I feel like I gained a new perspective from him watching receiver.
Yeah.
And him giving that little shout out was like kind of paying homage to the guys that came before him, and
And
respecting
especially
that.
the guys that came before him on the Vikings.
Yeah,
Like,
and
yeah.
because and just to make it clear, like there's he's basically in a league of his own when it comes to guys coming into the league and being as successful as he's been. There's not many guys that have been able to do what he's been able to do since he got
Yeah.
into the league. Very few.
Yeah.
So you're seeing
The other guys really Randy Moss.
well, yeah, but
Like,
I mean, and Jamar Chase is trying to put himself in that category too, which
yeah.
he's having a great season as well. But I just thought it was a really nice tip of the hat to him, and
Me too.
yeah, really glad you
Yeah.
mentioned that. So,
Yeah.
but listen, good luck in fantasy this week. Hopefully, it works out.
Yeah.
And Uncle Raj has already blown up my phone because because of the league that I lost in, he lost as well. So we're going to be playing each other this week. So
For the love of God, I know he's going to send you audio messages. Can you just forward them
yeah,
to me so I can listen to
they
it?
will.
Because he said some stuff about me this week that you're like, and I was like, my guy, like,
Yeah, yeah.
he'll say anything about anybody.
Listen,
I love that for him.
if I beat him, I will send him a voice message every day for the next, foreseeable off season.
Good.
Until he realizes that like I've established my dominance. So
Yep.
um
Yeah, that he's the lesser man.
yeah, he needs to know. So, but other than that, man, another awesome episode. Really glad we got to chat. I know we went a little bit long this time, but a lot of stuff
Sure.
we needed to talk about. So,
Yeah.
we will be back giving you guys a nice little Christmas Eve touch next week. We'll
Yeah.
we'll drop it on Christmas. So while you're, after you get done with the presents and stuff, and right before you want to be able to,
Or if you just don't want to spend time with your family,
yeah,
that's okay too.
yeah,
That's okay too.
yeah,
We got you covered.
we will drop it out there, so
Yeah.
you guys will be able to watch. But yeah. Other than that, man, awesome
All right.
episode, and I love you, bro.
All right. I love you too, man. Stay safe.
Peace.